There's nothing more mesmerizing, and at the same time melancholy, than watching the distant scenery pass by from the window of a train. The landscape may change from flat to mountainous and from lush to arid, but your thoughts as you stare are often the same. What is this place? I wonder who lives here and what it's like to live here. I wonder who has traveled here before me. But when you are riding the rails along the route that the likes of Genghis Khan and Marco Polo likely crossed, it makes your heart beat faster. Spanning 5 time zones, 3 distinct cultures, and more than 5,000 miles, this is the longest train trip in the world, the Trans-Siberian Railway. Ride along with us.
We're Ann Craig Cinnamon and John Cinnamon, and we both have long careers in broadcasting in Indianapolis, Indiana. Since marrying in 1995, we've traveled the world together, visiting more than 100 countries, all 7 continents, and all 50 U.S. states. We've done such things as gorilla trekking in Rwanda, hiking the Himalayas to see Mount Everest, hot air ballooning over Cappadocia, Turkey, exploring Easter Island on a scooter, and visiting the eerie ghost town of Chernobyl in the Ukraine.
When you're a travel junkie, it gets harder and harder to get your fix, which is why we're always looking for something new and different, experiencing something in a more adventurous way. So when we discovered you could take the longest train ride in the world from Moscow to Beijing with stops in Siberia and Mongolia, we were on board with it, despite knowing that it could be challenging.
So this trip is a little more nerve-wracking. We don't know what the train's going to be like. I'm so excited to see it. It's a lot of things that we're not sure about. But is it not one of the most exciting, maybe, that we've ever done?
Oh yeah, oh absolutely. When there's a certain segment of our friends and people that we talk to and tell them where we're going on the Trans-Siberian Railway. Really? I didn't even know there was such a thing.
Yeah.
That sounds awesome. That sounds so exotic.
What do you do? Yeah.
And then when we tell them, it's wow, that's really cool. And of course, then there's the handful of others who say, oh, we're going to be in a train for 4 days, maybe with 2 other people in our cabin.
Longer than 4 days.
Right, but 4 days in a row. And they say, that sounds awful. I would never want to do that. With strangers on a train in a cabin this close?
Could never
no
do
thanks.
that. That's what he actually said. What if they pass gas in the middle of the night?
What if we do?
First stop on our more than 2-week-long journey, Moscow. Now, you would think that after going through the rather onerous process of applying for a Russian visa and receiving it, that you'd be in. But not so in John's case. He was singled out upon arrival in Moscow at immigration for a more extensive search and interview. More than an hour and a few panic attacks later, we made it to Moscow.
Moscow is a beautiful, vibrant city. Red Square is, of course, iconic. The Kremlin is not at all what you might think. There are beautiful churches inside the walls, and it has served as the government seat for more than 500 years. The colorful St. Basil's Cathedral sits at one end of Red Square, where it's watched over parades, demonstrations, and just day-to-day events for over 500 years. This cathedral is actually 9 churches in one. It may be rather ornate on the outside with its onion-domed cupolas, but the inside is not at all what you'd expect of a cathedral. With brick walls and low ceilings and small chapels.
I've been to Russia twice and never been inside St. Basil's before, and I've always wanted to come. And it's better than I ever thought it would be. It's not the gilded churches that you usually see. It's real. It's beautiful. It's a gem.
The third major anchor of Red Square is the Gum department store. When the architects designed it more than 120 years ago, it probably never occurred to them that someday it would house designer clothing and jewelry and high-end goods.
When I was first here, and that was 1974, it was their big prize even then, and they brought you here as a tourist attraction. But it was really the government, the state store, and so they would have, the bread shop over here, and the trinket shop, and the cheese shop, and and people would, this is where they shop. But it was nothing like this. I mean, the architecture is pretty much the same, and it's beautiful, but it is a stunning, beautiful building right on Red Square, but it's not anything the way they intended when they created it.
Oh yeah, from the time you were here the first time to now, it's gone from Pravda to Prada. Something else Moscow is famous for and proud of is their subway stations. Some are actually considered architectural masterpieces. There are stations designed of marble, others have mosaic ceilings, and then there's Revolution Square's station, which has bronze statues of soldiers that subway riders over the years have fondly rubbed as they head for their train.
After touring, shopping, and dining on dumplings for a day or two, we were ready to start the adventure. Our tour guide, Isa, took us to a local grocery store to buy food.
So the thing is that we are going to spend 4 days on the train, and dining car may be not available, or sometimes you may not like the food, and it's always better to have some food on your own. Plus, it's acting like local, because locals don't go to dining car. They prepare everything in advance, like boiling eggs, cooking chicken, wrapping it in tin foil. We cannot do this as we don't have kitchen.
Right.
But we can buy some things and cook by ourselves to, be like locals.
So the locals, they do a lot of preparation before they get on the
So
train.
train is all about eating. It's
It
the
is?
culture. So once you board the train, it hasn't started even yet.
Right.
You start eating, and you are sharing food with the neighbors. So it's better to have something to be able to share.
Oh, I think we need to shop some more.